We paid to fly business class, not to sit in a daycare, Charles said with a fake laugh, his voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. A few passengers snickered, whispering about Emma and her little boy. Emma didn't answer. She just smiled softly and held her son close. Then, a few minutes later, the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Attention, passengers. We need immediate assistance from International Aviation Security Advisor, Mrs. Emma Carter." The whole cabin went silent. Charles froze, sinking into his seat. His face turned pale. Emma sat still, her son's head resting against her shoulder, his small hand clutching a worn-out teddy bear. She didn't look up. She didn't need to. Her fingers gently brushed through his hair. For a moment, it felt like the entire world stopped moving, just the two of them, surrounded by the low hum of the engines and the quiet judgment of 100 strangers. The business class cabin was all polished wood and shiny metal, but somehow it felt colder than the air outside. Emma's plain gray sweater and faded jeans stood out among the expensive suits and designer dresses. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup. No jewelry except for a thin silver band on her hand. She didn't look like she belonged there, or at least that's what everyone thought. The moment felt heavy, like something big was about to happen. Emma's silence wasn't weakness. It was strength, quiet and calm. She rocked her son gently, his tiny snores barely louder than the hum of the plane. The captain's announcement still echoed in the air, but no one dared to speak. They were watching, wondering how this simple woman with a child and an old suitcase could be someone important enough for the captain to call by name. Hey, if you're feeling this right now, if you've ever been judged or looked down on, pause for a second. Tap that like button, drop a comment, and make sure you're subscribed. Let's keep walking through stories like this together. Charles leaned forward, his gold watch flashing under the cabin lights. He was the kind of man who thought the world revolved around him. CEO of Davenport Group, finance king. He smirked at the man beside him, a hedge fund manager with slicked back hair. "Must be a mistake," Charles said loud enough for everyone to hear. "A security advisor? What's she gonna do, change a diaper and save the world?" The hedge fund guy laughed and a few others joined in. Their laughter was sharp and mean. Across the aisle, Olivia, Charles's assistant, sat scrolling through her phone, her nails perfectly manicured. "I bet she used a discount ticket," Olivia said. "I mean, look at her. How else could she afford business class?" A woman in a silk scarf leaned toward her friend. "She looks more like a maid than a business traveler." "Did you see that suitcase?" she whispered. "Probably thrifted." A man in a navy blazer with shiny cufflinks shook his head. "People like her ruin the experience," he said. "Bringing a kid into business class, it's a joke." His companion nodded. "This isn't a bus. They should check passengers better." Emma's son shifted in her arms, his teddy bear slipping. She quietly adjusted it without looking up. The man smirked. "Look at that bag. I bet she's carrying coupons in there." Laughter followed, low and cruel. Emma didn't respond. Her eyes stayed on her son as she fixed his blanket. Her slow, steady movements were the only calm thing in the room. The whispers grew louder. "People like her don't belong here," someone said. "This is business class, not a charity flight." Then Emma looked up, not at Charles, not at Olivia, but at the woman with the diamond earrings. Her gaze was calm, still and powerful. "Is it?" she said softly. The woman froze. The entire cabin went quiet again before Charles forced out a laugh. "Oh, she speaks," he said, raising his wine glass. "Don't get used to it, sweetheart. You're out of your league." A flight attendant passed by, her hands shaking slightly. She glanced at Emma, then looked away quickly. The woman with pearls whispered, "Even the staff knows she doesn't belong. Probably got on the wrong flight." Emma didn't move. She just tightened her son's blanket and turned to look out the window at the clouds. Her posture straightened just slightly, a quiet sign she wasn't broken. Not yet, the plane kept humming. Everyone thought they'd won. They hadn't. A worn photo inside Emma's bag brushed her hand. She didn't take it out, but she could still feel it. The picture of her and a man in a pilot's uniform, both smiling. Her late husband, their son not yet born. That memory gave her strength. Then the flight attendant, Clara, came over. "Mrs. Carter," she said quietly, The captain needs to speak with you, Charles snorted. What does he need her for? To mop the cockpit floor? The hedge fund man laughed. Maybe they're out of coffee. Clara didn't answer. Emma handed her sleeping son over gently and stood. Her steps were steady as she walked toward the front, leaving her old suitcase behind. As she disappeared through the curtain, a woman whispered, She's probably just a secretary. They call anyone an advisor these days. A man replied, Yeah, probably a diversity hire, trying to look important. The others murmured in agreement, feeding each other's hate. But Clara noticed something they didn't. The way Emma carried herself. The quiet authority. Inside the cockpit, the captain met Emma with a nod. We've got an unidentified aircraft on our radar, he said. We need your guidance. Emma slipped on the headset, her voice calm as she spoke in coded terms only professionals would understand. Back in the cabin, the passengers were restless. The whispers started again, but softer this time. When Emma returned, every eye followed her. She sat down, lifted her son gently back into her arms. A man leaned across the aisle. So what was that about? He asked mockingly. You some kind of VIP or just good at answering phones? Emma met his eyes. You'll find out soon enough, she said quietly. Charles chuckled. Honorary title, I bet. They hand those out like candy. Olivia nodded. If she was really important, she wouldn't be stuck babysitting. The laughter that followed was weaker now. Emma's silence felt heavier than their words. The plane jolted in mild turbulence. A few people gasped, but Emma didn't even blink. Her son stirred, and she whispered softly to him. When the flight attendants served dinner, Emma's son accidentally spilled water. Charles smirked immediately. Can't even teach her kid manners, he said loudly. Olivia laughed. Embarrassing. What a shabby mother. A few others joined in, but Emma just comforted her son. It's okay, buddy, she murmured. The plane steadied again, and for a moment it felt like time paused. Emma reached into her bag and took out the photo. Her son smiled, pointing at the bear. Daddy gave me this, he said. I know, sweetie, Emma whispered, smiling softly. Nearby, passengers kept gossiping. She's out of her depth, Olivia muttered. Probably never flown anything but economy. A man grinned. She should have stayed in coach. Emma ignored them. She held her son's hand and stared out the window, her silence stronger than any insult. Charles leaned over again. Hey, he said with fake charm. No hard feelings, right? Just joking earlier. Olivia forced a laugh. Yeah, we were just kidding. Charles slid his business card toward her. We should collaborate. I can offer you opportunities. Emma looked at the card, then back at him. You're mistaken, she said quietly. I don't need opportunities from you. She pushed the card back. Charles froze, his smile gone. The cabin fell silent again. The captain's voice came through once more, this time sharp. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just received confirmation. The Davenport Group is under international investigation. Every head turned toward Charles. His face went pale. His phone buzzed with news alerts. Emma calmly reached into her bag and pulled out a folder, her credentials gleaming in the cabin light. International Aviation Security Advisor. Lead Investigator, Global Financial Oversight. Charles's mouth fell open. You're in charge? He whispered. Emma nodded. Yes, she said quietly. And now you've shown me who you really are. The cabin was silent. Olivia's phone buzzed. Her face turned white as she read the headline, Davenport Group CEO under investigation. The hedge fund man sank in his seat. The woman with the diamond earrings clutched her bag. Charles's voice cracked. No one respects you, he said bitterly. They only fear your power, Olivia whispered. She'll die alone. Someone else muttered, power doesn't mean love. Emma didn't flinch. She rested her hand on her son's shoulder, the silver ring glinting faintly. Her silence was her answer. The cockpit door opened, and the captain stepped out. The cabin gasped. He took off his hat, smiling gently at Emma. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, I'm not just your captain. I'm the man who's waited 10 years for her. Shock rippled through the cabin. He looked at Emma softly. Thank you for coming back, he said. Our son will be proud. Emma's son smiled, clutching his teddy bear. Charles sank into his seat, defeated. Olivia stared at her phone as her career crumbled. The passengers could only watch as Emma lifted her son and walked toward the front. The applause started quietly, then grew louder, filling the air. She didn't turn around. She didn't need to. Her silence said everything. Her strength, her grace, her truth. As the plane descended, city lights glowing below, Emma held her son close. Her husband's hand rested gently on her shoulder, and to everyone watching who's ever been judged, looked down on, or underestimated, this one's for you. You weren't wrong. You weren't weak. You carried your truth just like she did.